Welcome to the Motivated Martial Arts Podcast. Your hosts, Jackson White and Gavin Cook, have been friends and Taekwondo training partners for over 40 years. This podcast will bring you a mixture of their life stories, martial arts, and business experiences to motivate you in life and throughout your martial arts journey. Adding in a mixture of inspiring interviews and some of the best traditional martial artists around today. So over to your hosts, the Motivated Martial Artists.
What over the years has kept you motivated?
Tell us what motivates you. What keeps you motivated every day?
What advice would you give to a younger self?
What's been motivating you through this troubled year to continue training? What's been the motivation?
Give me that one thing that motivates you every day.
So, knowing what you know now about your martial arts and your fighting career, etc., what advice would you give to a younger you of about 16, 18?
Another question we always ask our guests is, what advice would you give to a younger you?
So, knowing what you know now then, what sort of advice would you give to a younger self? As we're the motivated martial artists, what motivates you to get up in the morning and train and do what you're doing?
Hunger, desire. When I first was coming up through the colour belts, I could see what the black belts were doing, and I was like, I want to do that. When I got to the black belt division, it was, Nikki Lyons, all right, I want to beat her. I did that. And now it's like, right, everybody else is on my coattails, right? I've got to stay where I am, it's that fear of letting things go. So, no, just keep working hard and keep maintaining what I've built, really.
I've been taught, like I said, I spent time in Jamaica, and the Jamaicans have taught me one thing: we don't take part, what they say, we come to win. That's what they say. Yeah. If we don't win, we learn from why we lose. That's Jamaican. You look at any of that, that's what I learned in primary school. So I come here and I tell my children that, do not take part, give 100%, be fair, be square, and leave it there and learn from it. If you lose, learn from it. The fact is, me in martial art, why I reckon I was that successful, you look at all I never curse the referee. I never ever look and why you haven't given me a point. Never ever. Do you know why? Because he's not in control.
So it's not the ref's fault, is it? It's you that's got to make that action. If he hasn't seen it, it's because you didn't let him see it. You didn't make it clear enough.
I'm
totally
not
agree.
And Jesse Ankamp said it best. I thought that we always start at the bottom of this huge mountain and we're trying to get to the top, right? We're trying to get to our black belt, our master belt. And he said, as you get up the mountain, you start to see other people going up this mountain with you, and you sort of wave at them and go, oh, look, there's a Taekwondo school, there's a Jiu-Jitsu school. And then he's like, when you get to the top of the mountain, you realize we were all climbing up the same mountain. But also now we can see all these other mountains to climb up. And I just think, for me, that is, if you're like, why get into martial arts? Why dedicate all this time to this one thing that again, on the outset, like I said, when I was 6, seems very violent and very, very sort of mean-spirited. And then, again, when it's done properly, when it's a good instructor, when it's a good environment, is the most wholesome thing you can do. And again, like you said, the competition doesn't matter, because what you're offering them, look, you can do this for life. Like, there's so little in this day and age that you can say, look, it's a lifetime investment. You could do this forever. I absolutely love it.
What advice would you give to any younger 13, 14-year-old competitors? They're going out there, they're doing their competitions, and they're not really getting anywhere. What advice would you give to them?
What I would say is, don't give up on what you're doing. Work hard, and hard work pays off. Watch your videos, watch, the squad members, see who inspires you and use them as your motivation. What do you want to achieve out of it? Set your long-term goals. So if you want to be a world champion as a long-term goal, set your smaller goals. Say, I want to do, it doesn't even have to be winning, even performance-wise. I'm going to come off the mats and I'm going to say, when I come off the mats, that I've done the best fight I could. I put my all into it and I'm going to enjoy it. Stuff like that. Or technically, I want to make sure this pattern, is like this, or I want to work on this. Things like that. Just have your little goals, have your big goals, and don't be afraid that you might lose motivation for a little bit. Some days you don't want to do exercise, or you don't want to train. That's normal. Just take a step back, look at what you're doing, really think about it, and just just find what motivates you and who inspires you, and use that to get you where you want to be.
I think for sometimes from the outside looking in, it looks like quite an easy job, like you said. Oh, teaching taekwondo, that's doing what you love every day. That sounds
that's what
sounds awesome. Yeah, that's what everyone thinks, isn't it? But I think, and but living the dream. But again, it's a constant battle, isn't it? Because sometimes when you do what you love too much and it becomes a job, then you've got to be so careful that you don't lose the love for the sport, I think. Yeah, you have, I think. And I think a lot of people do, don't they? There's a lot of time you see people and they just become driven by, by making it into a business, which it is to some people. And that's fair enough. And you've got to run it like a business, obviously. But you've got to still have that basic love of the sport, I think. Otherwise, I wouldn't still be in it now if I did.
There is no shame in losing as long as you can put your name to your performance. Did you fight somebody of a good caliber? Were you able to demonstrate your skill set? Were you able to put into practice everything that you've worked towards? Because the fight is the crescendo. That's the fun part. And every time that I can put my name to my performance, I've always come out that cage, win or lose, with a smile on my face. Because I've done everything and I've represented who I am and where I come from. And
that's what that same mentality has to carry through into your life as well, doesn't it?
No doubt.
I think that's the beauty of martial arts, is like I say, stepping in that ring or stepping on that mat and being able to come off and say, well, you know what, I did everything I could do. I tried my best. Next time I need to work a bit. I maybe need a bit more conditioning. I need to be getting out and running a little bit earlier, to increase my stamina or whatever you need to do. But it's being able to, you've got to take credit for the good and you've got to take credit for the bad. If you won,
and take responsibility for
responsibility, well. And that's something that I know we've talked about on the show, Jackie, quite a few times about, having this people with this victim mentality. Everything is someone else's fault, and if you're going to be successful in life, you can't have that. You've got to take responsibility for everything that you do in your life, whether it's good or bad, because that's how you can change it, isn't it? And that's how you can get better. And I think quite often it's having that martial arts mindset. That's one thing that martial art does teach you.
It was it's been fantastic. It's probably one of the best things I've ever done in my life. It's been such a big part of it now. Like I say, it's 40 years now this year. The people I've met have been fantastic, still are. There's loads of great athletes, and humility as well with them. They're not they're easily approachable. And when I was sort of first coming up, you've got people not running in the team, like captains like Kenny Walton and Tony Sewell and Kim Stones. They'd encourage you on. They were never there sort of pushing you down and just trying to beat you up and keep you out. They were always
trying to beat you up, but they'd always
they're probably
offer you a hand once they've kicked you in the head.
Probably, yeah. it was always about bringing you on. If you were keen and you like learning, then it's a great thing to be involved in.
But I think that is the underlying thing, the uncertainty, the not knowing. But I think in this particular scenario that we have at the moment, if we can control that fear and use that fear as a positive energy, and I think those of us that can do that, and it's not going to be everybody. It takes a certain type of person to overcome their fears, and particularly when those fears are thrust upon them, I think we'll be in better positions as martial arts instructors and business owners to come out the other side. Because certainly for myself and Gavin, we're already looking at the next level of technology that can support us, the next evolution of our martial arts businesses, where actually would we have jumped so quickly onto online platforms potentially? I suspect not. We would have dabbled in, like you said, maybe have taken us 2 years to get it going and launch it, because it's taken us out of that traditional comfort zone. We have a great saying about the comfort zone. Yeah. You've probably seen it. It's a great place, but nothing grows there. So I think this is forced growth, particularly for me, particularly for Gavin. We're looking at it. There we go. That's
brilliant. Yeah, love that.
Is it the comfort zone's a beautiful place, but nothing grows there, right?
So, knowing what you know now, then, what sort of advice would you give to a younger self in getting into your martial arts?
I'd have got in it earlier. I'd like to got in it at the age that you. What age were you when you started? You were 4. That's probably a bit early actually for me, but 5.
I couldn't even say my name.
I was 8, so yeah.
That's because your dad couldn't get a babysitter. That
Exactly. And my mum was working,
He was
so
one of those kids that had to do it while his dad went out.
Yeah, got forced into it. But no, I genuinely would have started early. I've loved it. I mean, what I would have liked to have done is to avoided injury, and I don't know how you go about sort of saying to yourself, you know, don't do flying kicks at Jackson White Senior's demonstrations. I always wind him up about that. It was the first time I popped my knee.
I remember. Yeah, I do remember.
I say it's my dad's line, but I thought you boys would appreciate it for all your martial art guys out there. He goes, he asked me one day, he says, what's the definition of happiness? And he says, oh, there's 3 types of happiness. There's short-term happiness. Short-term happiness is a night out, a nice meal, a roller coaster, you know, very intense but short-lived. He's like, well, what's mid-term happiness? Mid-term happiness is school, a relationship, a job. It's finite, but it will level out at some point. He's like, what's long-term happiness? He says, long-term happiness is a garden, right? It's really slow, but it will grow with you. And this is what we were talking about earlier before we went on about the lifetime investment. It's like you can do martial arts for all this time, and as well as the physical side of it, it has this infinite history and they're infinite martial arts.
You know, like I say to them, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to play for Man United, I want to play for Arsenal, I want to do this, I want to be that, I want to be this. So, well, you're not going to get there if you go on a life of crime. You know, you're going to get a bad reputation served, you're going to get a police record about you, and you will not get what you want. So change it now. If you want to achieve that, go and achieve that. So for me, it was getting the kids at a younger age more than anything, to try and change them. And I used to see a lot of kids come into class that are bullied. So it's trying to make them a little bit more confident, and then talking to the kids that, you know, we teach classes. We know we've got a few bullies here and there in classes. We're going to have you're going to have both sides of it. You're going to have students that get bullied, and you're going to have students that are bullies. So you try and change the ones that could be bullies. I mean, you're an instructor. You can always pick out the ones you think, oh, maybe they're a little bit too much. And the ones that are a little bit more quieter, maybe give them a little bit more confidence to deal with situations, you know?
And you need to make sure that you make sure that you are ready for anything. So the outside fitness, like cross training, strength training, nutrition, and good sparring with the right people. Don't just pick on people you know you can beat. You go look uphill. You know what I mean? Yeah. You want to go for the guy who's the best, and that's why I went to these top fighters when I was a green belt, because I'm learning stuff from them, and that's the only way you're going to do it. You can't fake your way to being a champion. You can't fake your way to being a world champion. You got to have it inside you, inside and out. Simple as that.
As you said you were before.
Well, I think, you know, if we're being brutally honest, fear is of the unknown, isn't it? It's not knowing what's going to happen. It's not knowing or not having that control, and that's what I think is generating and creating all the fear that we're seeing at the moment. The fact that we don't know whether we're going to open those classes in 2 weeks, or Gavin said in 6 months. We don't know if our students are going to come back. We don't know if they're going to move onto our online platforms. We don't know if we're going to find the right. So, you know, we're going back, you know, to having thriving businesses, all of a sudden back to that position of total uncertainty. If you can probably think back to those days, I'm sure, you know, I know it sat with Gavin because I talked to him through it, Carl. Do I leave my full-time job and do I go full-time as a martial arts instructor? It's that fear of the unknown. And, you know, you talk to people, you get reassurance, and you do the figures, you do the maths, and eventually you convince yourself. Actually, we haven't got time to convince ourselves it's happening. And that causes fear.
Yeah.
So I think
when you can calculate,
really
can't you?
Is what all the fear is.
How many times have you stepped onto the mat and you've looked at that guy and thought, Jesus, he's going to kill me. And then you actually win. Yeah, and then it gives you that sense of actually what was I worrying about? You know what I mean?
Well, you only think that once or twice, don't you? Then you realise, you know, regardless of the physique, the stature, you know, in your mind, if you're well prepared, you can do what you want. Well, you can achieve more than what you that little chimp on the back of the shoulders telling you.
And even if it's, you know, even if it's some degree you're in a dangerous situation and it's not quite true, the fact that you think, well, I've been through this.
You believe yourself and you believe in your abilities. That'll drive you forward,
If we do. And that's what samurai warriors did. They go into battle, they never knew if they were going to live. Or Native Americans, their warriorship is incredible, their philosophy. You go into battle, you don't know if you're going to come home, but you do the best you can, and you wait to see what happens next. And that is the mindset of a warrior, not to sit and, feel sorry for yourself or to feel like you're trapped, but to realize that nothing lasts forever. And while you're here, you just sometimes have to resort to one little step at a time, even if it's in the dark. And then you just wait and you see what happens next. That's the way warriors operate.
Yeah, seize the moment. Seize the moment, isn't it?
There you go. Yeah, absolutely.
And I always believe that if you can get to kids before the age of 13, get in their minds and change their minds about bullying and the dangers of street and night crime, if you can get to them before 13 years old, then you can make a big difference. I think after 13, I think you've got more trouble of trying to change them.
Yeah, what is
So
it?
that's
What is
one
it?
reason-
So you can't bend a tree once it's grown, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think if you get to kids when they're sort of younger, before 13, I think you can make a big difference. And that's what I was thinking. If I can go into school, talk to these kids, try and make them understand about the dangers of street and night crime, the effects it has on people, not only the effects it has on people, but the effects it has on themselves.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great advice.
You can achieve what you want to achieve. You know, if you want it, believe in it, go and get it. Just go and get it. You can get it. There's nothing stopping you. You know.
I can concur with that totally. You know, setting those goals. You know, have your long-term goal and then have your intermediate and small goals. You know, to reach that, you're not just going to jump out of bed and become a Premier League footballer, or you're not going to become the world's #1 martial artist, or or a doctor. You go through setting yourself that long-term goal, have that vision up there in front of you, and then work out how you're going to step to each of those steps to get to where you want. So, knowing what you know now about your martial arts and your fighting career, etc., what advice would you give to a younger you of about 16, 18?
It's one of the best things to get into. Find a local gym, go out, give it a go. It gets you off the streets, it keeps you fit, it gives you a good mindset, it gives you discipline, gets you used to taking orders. There's more benefits. There's a lot of benefits from doing martial arts. Really, there's a lot of benefits. Like I said, keeps you fit, gives you discipline, gets you used to taking orders, and like I said, it's something that's been drilled into me from a young age, and I'll never ever stop doing it. Hopefully, I'll still be doing it in another 40 years' time if I'm still alive, but we'll see. I'll just keep doing it still as long as I can go. So.
What I would suggest for people that aren't used to that environment is to get up in the morning, set yourself a goal of getting up at a particular time, as you would do for your daily work, and set yourself work periods of time throughout the day where you expect to achieve something. So if you've got several actions that you need to execute, set yourself an hour for each action with maybe a 10-minute break in between, where you can take a 10-minute walk, or you can make your lunch. Set yourself an hour for lunch, where you can, get up, make your lunch, maybe go out for a 30-minute walk, or just take your mind off what you're doing and then come back to it. If you segregate your day into blocks, I think that'll be key in terms of setting yourself routine. And it's no different to having a bit of a routine that you used to do at school. Colouring on your little chart what you plan to achieve in that each particular period to keep yourself going. Particularly if you're self-isolated and you're working from home, because very, very quickly the days will drag on. But you want to make sure that you're giving yourselves plenty of break from your work. You're setting fixed times to go to sleep. Don't just fall asleep whenever you feel like it. It's the habit to do that, and then make sure you set a fixed time to get up, do your exercise in the house, grab your shower, get changed, then target your first call for 9 o'clock or your first online meeting for 9 o'clock. Then maybe you need to write a report, schedule that report over an hour block, and take a 30-minute block for a break, go for a walk. But you've got to set that routine. It's not just going to happen. Yeah, it's important that you have that routine set, and in that routine, there's plenty of breaks. Particularly if you're looking at your screen continuously. So that'd be my advice. I don't do it now because I'm so used to working remotely. But certainly when I first started, I had colleagues of mine that would, find it really difficult to work from home. So they would get up, they would get dressed, they'd put their suit and tie on, and they'd walk for 20 minutes, then walk back into the house, take their jacket off, and say, right, I've done my commute to work. I'm now ready to sit down and work. So it's really whatever works for you, but it's about getting that structure in, and use at the start, use a timetable for that.
Yeah, I always remember your dad, Jackson. I remember saying to me when we was training, I was talking about competitions and stuff like that, and talk about getting nervous. And I remember saying, no matter how many times, this is obviously coming from your dad, who's who's still competing in his 60s or whatever, and no matter how many times you've done it, you're still nervous. It's just you've got to remember that guy opposite you, no matter how big and fierce he is, he's nervous too, and he's just as scared as you. And you've got to remember, because it's how you conquer that. You've got to use that fear, haven't you? You've got to use that nerves to your advantage. And quite often it's more against the battle between for the fighter. It's more the battle between their body and their mind, isn't it? Conquering your mind.
Yeah, I think also, I don't know what you think, Simon. I think the fear changes.
For me, the biggest thing I've realised, whether you're a martial artist, a child, an adult, you're a kickboxer, you're a boxer, you're a taekwondo expert, if you're a manager of a business, if you're a mum, a dad, straight, gay, like we all carry exactly the same issues, exactly the same problems, fears, demons. You just don't know about it because no one will talk about it.
That's right, and I think more importantly for our male audience as well, it's a common fact is that males don't tend to have that same unloading ability with their friends. It's all a little bit of piss taking, a little bit of banter, and males generally don't open up to other males about their problems, and they certainly don't open up to other people. So it is good to get that conversation going, allow people to have understand those related experiences.
Definitely.
And that it goes into kids as well, doesn't it? I know my eldest son is 14, and trying to get him to speak about stuff is just near on impossible. You know what they're like. He'll chat to their mates. You can hear him chatting on the phone, and the minute I say, is everything all right, Harry? And try to discuss the fact that we're going to be in lockdown for 6 months. Well, whatever. Can I go to the park now? I'm like, it's one of those, isn't it?
What's been motivating you through this troubled year to continue training? What's been the motivation?
The first one being like my goals. So the goals that I just said: get on a big show, have a big fight, get a title. That's always been my vision, so I'm still on course for that. But also it's that saying, you're only as good as your last fight. Do you know what I mean? And my last fight was just before the first lockdown, literally like 2-3 days before the last lockdown, the first lockdown. And the show went, I sold about 100 tickets, and it went from 100 tickets to a closed event, and they relocated the show from London to Manchester. And this was all happening during fight week. So I fought a French guy, and where they were closing all the borders down, like Europe was a little bit ahead of the UK. I didn't even know if my guy was going to get into the country, or if he was able to get back home. And there's so much stress. And cut a long story short, I lost the fight on decision. And this was all like my daughter was due like that week, and she subsequently was born like a couple of weeks later. So having all these things going on, and I just didn't perform to the best of my ability. So I was just like, you know what, that is not, I can't put my name to my performance. And if I'm going out, I'm going out with people that going, that's Nathan Jones. I want to learn from that guy. So my motivation is just to get back out there and give a good account of myself. To the fight was okay, but it wasn't me. Do you know what I mean? And I've got to correct that before I hang up the gloves.
Yeah,
I've got to
so
go out there.
Some unfinished business.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, what advice would you give to a younger self, given what you know now about life and sports and martial arts and everything else? What advice would you give to a younger self?
Don't worry about what people think, and it's not that bad standing up in front of people sometimes, like type thing. Don't worry, mainly not to worry about what people think, and do what you enjoy. So find something you enjoy, because obviously it's not just about the martial arts. It's not just about the competing, is it? It's about doing something for a long period until when you're older. The football, it's not. You can't do that as much because you tend to go into say kochi, whereas the taekwondo, you can, and the martial arts, you can still do katas. The things you can still do, even when you're older.
Or patterns even.
Yeah, all patterns.
Yeah, that's like karate again, ain't it?
But I think it's finding something. When you're younger, it's finding something you enjoy. So my advice would be to people is to find something they enjoy that they can continue to stick with.
Yeah, and one other thing I would always say, be humble and help out other people that are not so talented as you are. Always help somebody else. If you think, okay, they're struggling a little bit, be nice. Help them on a little bit. And that's the good thing about martial arts instructors. This is what we do. We're there to help people trying to achieve what they can achieve. So help out others as well, for sure.
What over the years has motivated you to stay in martial arts? Because we see, you see a lot of people, they come into martial arts and they duck out, and then they might come back, but it's never the same. But when you're in it constantly,
I think to me and a lot of people in martial arts, it's kind of a family. It's kind of a big family, and I actually, as much as I enjoy the martial arts, I enjoy going down and seeing them people and them kids and them guys and having a chat and talking about different things. And it is just like one big martial arts family, and I just get a buzz out of every aspect of the martial arts. Just gives me a buzz. I just really enjoy it. Really do enjoy it. And I think it's kind of, because I've done it from such a young age, it's kind of bred into me now. It's all I know. It's all I've got. It's all I know. It's all I know what to do. Getting up and training, that's what's in my body. That's all my body knows what to do. So
I hope you all enjoyed this week's episode of the Motivated Martial Artist podcast. Don't forget to check out our Facebook page and our Facebook group, the Motivated Martial Artist podcast.
And don't forget also the Motivated Martial Artist Instagram page.
So head along for some extra content, interviews and much more.
So until next week, it's bye from Jackson
and Gavin,
the Motivated Martial Artists.